Hey, it's Sean and Mike, brew-dudes.com, and as promised, we are fulfilling the 7th pick from the Jar of Destiny series.
Trying to catch up.
But we have 2 beers in front of us. If you remember way back when Mike said, I brewed a small beer to brew a big beer. Well, we have that one. That's the Golden Scottish Ale right here. It's truly golden. It's like fall colors right in front of us. And then his pick is the Imperial Stout. And believe me, I am drinking this with my eyes. I don't even taste it yet. They look beautiful. They're both very beautiful. Yeah, show
Look at that golden ale, baby. It's golden Scottish.
And so as we know the base beer was kind of the sort of the starting point for the Imperial Stout. So I am really interested in tasting these side by side, and really hoping that the Imperial Stout is going to hit all the points that are in the BJCP. So with that, I'll let Mike talk about the Imperial Stout. So is it 20C on the old?
20C, which is American Porter and Stout. 20C happens to be Imperial Stout. So just a quick refresher, that golden ale, this golden Scottish ale I called it, it's Golden Promise, Light Munich, 7 Lovibond Munich, and Carastan malt. About 80%, 76%, 12%, and the rest 10+%. That's where this came from. Now the percentages won't matter when we move to here.
Exactly.
But the base of the big beer of the stout is Golden Promise, some Munich, and Carastan. So the Imperial Stout then. Let me give you the recipe. So in percentages, this is 61% Golden Promise, 11% Munich Type 1. It's 10% Flaked Barley. Then it's 4.5% of the Carastan, 4.5% of roasted barley, dark roasted barley from Simpson's 550 Love, 3.4% of chocolate malt from Baird's, about 500 Love, and then also, just for a little kicker, 4.5% of brown sugar.
Okay.
And I used the brown sugar because I wanted to get some of those caramelly notes. I just wanted to double down with the Carastan and then the brown sugar, just get some of that molasses notes. But I also wanted there to be some simple sugar in there to help me with attenuation. You remember the main purpose for this beer was to grow up some yeast, right? And so this beer was about 1040 something. This beer, the original gravity of this beer, I missed my numbers just a little bit. This came in at 1096.
Okay.
And then it fermented down to 1032 for an ABV a little over 9%, and that's about 67% attenuation, so it works.
So
let me tell you about the hopping on this guy. So a big Imperial Stout like this, you've got to think forward a little bit to aging, right? And so the first thing that's going to go in the aging process is some of that hop character. So for me, it's still drinking a little green in the hop character, but we'll talk about it. So I bittered this baby, first wort hops with Columbus. I hit this hard with Columbus. So this is an American Imperial Stout. So about 65 IBUs worth of Columbus. And then with 20 minutes left in the boil, I did 1 ounce of each Cascade and Willamette. And right at flame out, again, 1 ounce each of Cascade and Willamette. And remember, I fermented this with a blend of Cellar Science English and Cellar Science Cali that I blended together to make this, and then this cake was used to ferment this beer. The mash schedule for this beer, trying to, again, go for fermentability. I mashed in at 147 degrees for about 50 minutes, kicked it up to 158 for 20 minutes, and then I mashed out at 168 for another 15, just to try to make sure I had, because with so much ingredient base here, there's going to be plenty of residual dextrin, residual stuff. You don't need to, mash high for a stout, whatever that means, So again, I'm going for fermentability here. Because for me and my palate, ultimate fermentability also means ultimate drinkability. So, so there you go.
That's great.
I'm taking a sip of this baby.
Yeah. Well, you hit on a lot of the marks. I mean, watching this pour out of your kegerator, it looked viscous. And it is. It is.
I mean, with the finishing gravity of 1032, it's basically there's still ordinary bitter in the glass there to be fermented out.
So, I mean, on the nose, meets some roasted notes. I'm actually kind of getting, this is probably because I'm sipping it, because I think I was getting a little bit of the hop notes too.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's not an overwhelming punch of Cascade or anything like that, but certainly like a piney aroma on the nose, along with the roast.
I think I get a little bit of earthiness from the Willamette.
Yeah, it's all working together. That's for sure.
Yep. Yep. The bitterness on the whole hop profile. After we'll talk about the malt flavor, but that hop profile lingers on the palate.
Yeah,
it's that Columbus, which I don't brew with Columbus a whole lot, but I put it in there just for that reason, because being such a big beer, you want to make sure there's some bitterness there, and it lingers. It'll fade with some time, another couple years, right? That's what you do with a beer like this.
Yeah.
But I think it works here. As I don't really like Imperial Stout all that much because it's viscous, syrupy, and often super hoppy. This is probably just right at the edge of hoppiness for me to want to drink a stout with that much bitterness.
Did you so what was the alpha acid on the Columbus?
The Columbus I actually used I used Cryo Columbus at 20 and a half alpha acids.
All right, well,
because why not?
Yeah, why not? Try not.
No, to be honest with you, because of the struggles we've talked about lately with like the hop quality.
Totally.
I'm finding that when I build recipes and brew beer, that I need to add an extra 15 IBUs worth of hops just to get what I think the calculator's telling me in the first place. You know, so if I want a 40 IBU beer, I got to take it up to about 55 to sort of feel like it's enough. You know, either that or maybe the hops are fine and my palate has shifted. I don't know.
Well, if it has, mine has too. We've talked about the hop bitterness, and it's there, it's present, it's strong. It's certainly like the lasting note and the aftertaste. But let's talk about the malts and all the grains, and because like I think the flaked grain that you put in there, that helps with the mouthfeel a whole lot. It's got kind of a silky thing going on. I think that I was trying to pull out the carastan from this to see if it's there.
It's hard, man.
It's hard.
It's hard.
But I think because when you brew with brown sugar, all that's left is kind of that molasses. It's like all the molasses flavor without the sweetness, and that's not necessarily pleasant at times, but it works here. I think that there is like kind of a graham crackery, caramelly thing going on, and I was hoping for something to cling on to beyond the roast, beyond the hoppy bitterness. What is that special thing that I think makes Imperial Stouts, if you're going to brew one, either for a home brewer or commercial brewers, that they have this like one thing that like, oh, this stands out and makes it special, unique, great. And that's the thing that's coming out with me, is just that that caramelly, but like graham crackery kind of situation there.
I get like a 90% cacao chocolate, like a really like a baker's chocolate almost, like bitter, dark. There's definitely some nice, like aggressively roasted malt notes there, but it's not. But it's not. Sometimes I've had stouts where it gets to be almost cherry-like or on the palate. This just remains a dark toasted, almost, if you over toasted wheat bread, and like that's where it's at for me on that one too. Something I wanted to say about this too. So a lot of people, if you go online, you look at a lot of recipes for Imperial Stout, really big stouts. A lot of people will take like a stout recipe and they say, okay, this is a 1060 stout. I'm going to ramp this up to,
1090 something.
To 1090 or to 1100 plus. And they sort of think they need to amplify all of it. Really, we're talking about the base malt, because if the stout tasted great with, say, a pound of roasted barley in it, just because you want to make an Imperial Stout doesn't mean it needs 2.5 pounds of roasted barley. In fact, at 1 pound, if it tasted right and the color was right, you were already there. Adding more backbone with your base malt isn't going to make the color less. So when we first sort of talked about this, I just think that a lot of recipes, when you're trying to scale up into an Imperial Stout range, This is where you really got to be careful about taking those roasted malts too far. And I think that's where you get those ashy, acrid burnt flavors, because you're just using too much because you think you need to go so big. But you could cut this base malt amount that I have here in half and have a pretty pleasant 1055 stout with the same amount of roasted barley and chocolate malt.
Crazy.
You know?
Yeah.
Because the color is there. I mean, the color is super dark, super dark brown.
That's what you want.
You know, it's hard to get it on the camera, but it's just super dark brown and it's there. So I think there's just enough like sweetness from the brown sugar stuff and the carastan. I think it's all working together. It's malty, but it's malty underneath that really dark chocolate, really dark roast character. I was a little bit worried about using 500 plus Levibon roasted barley and a 500 plus chocolate malt. You could almost probably look at them as both being roasted, they're not, one's a malt, whatever, and not necessarily what we think of as traditional chocolate, but I think it works.
Oh yeah. I think so too. I was wondering if we were going to get like more of the, I know you're saying chocolate, and I think I'm sensing that more of the roast.
Yeah.
But like sometimes, like I was thinking about it on the walk over here, I was like, well, maybe we'll get some dark fruits, that sort of thing. But I don't think
that comes with age.
Yeah.
To me, right? I think that once it gets packaged, and if there's just a little bit of, you try to avoid packaged oxygen too.
Sure.
But I think that's where those cherry and sherry type notes come from, is a little bit of oxidation post-packaging and aging. It's just an aging thing.
Yep. Well, for a young Imperial Stout, it's drinking great.
Let me take a sip of this, man. This is like palate. This is like seltzer
I was
water.
going to say that was the sense I had. It was like, oh wow, this is like really refreshing.
Super refreshing.
Whew. All right. Well, that concludes the 7th pick. What an adventure! I mean, So how many weeks ago was this brewed?
This is brewed 5 weeks ago.
Wow.
So it sat in the fermenter for about 3 weeks plus a couple days.
Yep.
Then it got
packaged,
put into a keg to rest.
I see.
For a bit, and then I started cold crashing it. I let it really only cold crash for a couple of days, and then hit it. It's only been carbonating for about 5 or 6 days. It's been on 20 psi. So it's another thing too. High terminal gravity beers, it takes more to carbonate them.
Yeah.
Because that viscosity, it resists the absorbing of the CO2. So it takes time.
Yep.
Takes time.
It's poured nice, and still has
and
nice carbonation. Yeah,
nice lacing on the glass.
That's great. So yeah, I think that's a win for sure for the Imperial Stout. If you have any tips on Imperial Stouts, I love the one that Mike gave us, where it doesn't mean, just because you're making the beer bigger doesn't mean everything has to get bigger. Certainly, like just amplifying the amount of base malt in your beer can help you get the gravity that you need, but the specialty stuff, the roasted grains, not necessarily need to be amplified. It doesn't need to be like, I got to double that too to get to where this beer is. So love to hear your tips, comments below. Thanks for watching this video. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to our channel, because we do this kind of thing every single week. We are continuing our Jar of Destiny series. Tune back in December. We'll have more beers to taste. If you need to see more about it, there's a playlist, and we have all the posts on our blog, brew-dudes.com. For John and Mike of that blog, brew on.
Cheers.
I had to turn that one around.